Joining us again, a man who's very much popular, talks straight out, doesn't hold back, and we're talking to the former Senior Superintendent Johnny Abraham. Pleasant good evening, sir.
Good night to you, Mikee K, and all your listeners and followers on Facebook and other social medias throughout Trinidad and Tobago and the entire world.
Thank you. We've talked a lot about crime, but tonight I want us to put a focus on the officers, the men and women who put their lives on the line every day to safeguard, to secure this country. And the opposition leader made it quite clear last night, of course. She said to police officers, if criminals point a gun at you, shoot at you, or attack you, return fire with full force. Defend yourselves. Do not be hesitant. Being hesitant can cost you your life. And at the end of the day, every officer, when they finish that shift, they want to be able to go home to their family and their loved ones. Currently, in this current atmosphere, just tell us how much stress are many of these officers under?
Okay, firstly, the officers are under a lot of stress, Mikey. Number one, they don't have no sort of motivation from the senior officers who supposed to be leading from the front. Number two, you have young officers coming out and nobody to really guide them. Number three, they're very demotivated. Up to now, about 50 to 60% of the officers haven't received their back pay, although they sign up almost second in the associations. They sign up almost second. All the rest are entity probably collect all the money. The police still have outstanding money, like about 40% of the officers didn't get paid. Now, the honorable leader of the opposition, Ms. Kamala Pastor, made a call last night and saying to officers, if your life in danger, do what you have to do to protect your life. Mikey, I have been saying this thing for the last how much years? How much years I've been saying that? Listen, remember I was in the real life scenario where officers' life were in danger many times, including my own life. Now, I told my officers, once anybody point a firearm at them and their life is in danger, they will use force necessary, and if it becomes fatal, no problem with that once it's justifiable. And I went on national television, radio, TV, I went on the newspaper, and I warned the criminals. If they come central and they commit a crime when I was here, and they get away, say thank God. If you commit a crime and my police confront you, and you decide to play hero and attack my officers, we deal with you decisively, right there and then. There was no two ways about that. Mikey, I have seen at least 7 or 8 police officers probably was murdered in this country. I remember one sergeant responding to a report of robbery in San Fernando some years ago, and that man was shot and killed. And you know, the bad thing about it, that when that officer died, everybody from witness support unit and all about went and hugging up the man's wife over for a period of 2 weeks. And I spoke to that woman recently. Mikey, is over 5 years, nobody haven't checked on that woman to see if she's alive and how she's surviving. So officers have to protect themselves, come home to their family. When I now joined the service, and I was involved in the first set of shootout and so on, where people were killed and in the exchange of gunfire, I didn't need to sleep for nights upon nights because where I was living, I didn't have no electricity. I didn't have a firearm to bring home at the time. My life was always in danger. And I know how officers feeling right now to know that they are applying for a lawful gun to bring home. They are members of the protective services using all different kind of caliber of firearm. And they're coming up against higher caliber than what some of the police have. No. When they finish work, according to the leader, I heard that last night, I didn't make any comment, I was present in the meeting. And when these officers finish work, they have to sign in the firearm, and bandits will meet you and say, you see, all you have to sign in for the thing, but we have to sign in for that, and that is real life situation. Real life situation. The first thing I can tell my
officers, Mr. Abraham, I want to cut in here, and that's something I don't understand. Things like pay, housing, licensed firearms. I mean, why is it that we still have to be discussing these things when outside things are so different? The former Commissioner Jacobs made it clear before he left office, there's a new breed of criminals out there. You talking about people who don't care if they lick down mommy, if they lick down auntie, if they lick down nenen. They don't care if that could be their grandmother, their sister. They simply do not care. And today, officers still have to be talking about the salary, the bonus, the FUL, the housing. Look how many of them need housing. You telling me that a list can't go down to HDC for any new housing development, especially if it's close by, and get them inside there. And while they're in there, of course, the area, the community is going to be safe because you have working TTPS officers in there. Why do we have to discuss this now, at this point in time, when these things are low-hanging fruits and basic common sense?
Mikey, and if I tell you something, when I was in Senior Supt Central Division, you'll see some people getting firearms. That to me, everybody in this country really want to get a firearm to protect themselves and their family, their property and their business. But it have some people in this country who got firearm in front of officers who are on the front line. And I'm not speaking about the police officers alone. We have members of the defense force. We have members of the immigration department. We have licensed officers, everybody there who doing this security work under the Ministry of National Security. Their life are in danger. Look, just recently they fired a licensed officer home. Right? So these people don't care who they target. And I am saying, Mr. Jacob made a point that about the criminals don't care anything, but he was in office. And he and all responsible for not giving police firearm because I saw there was application waiting on the desk for police officers to get firearm. When it had a certain commissioner there, I used to take up a listen center and say, hey, you see these men, X, Y, Z, 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 them is my frontline officers. They was involved in several shootouts. And I would like you to issue firearm to these officers. And I make a lot of police officers get firearm. And to me, they are so grateful for that now. Look at the time we're living in, Mikey. Look at the time we're living in. And the frightening thing is that, as I keep saying, when these men go on a crime, a shooting spree, is 7.62 ammunition they're using, 5.56, 45 caliber, 40 caliber, 9 millimeter, and like they had that in stock because on one crime scene again 50, 60, 70 shells. You understand?
Right. And
a police just asking you for a license firearm. He have a permit to use the government firearm. So why you cannot give this man a FUL to use firearm? And when you look at certain people in this country who have 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 firearm, they're not in the front line. They're not in the front line. And it is very unfair and unjustified because we're talking about people in national security. I don't want nobody to feel like we're talking about police officers. And I told the honorable leader, Mr. Kamala Pasa Bisesa, I don't not into much of big set of politics, but I got joining the bandwagon now to clamor for my officers under the national security meaning police, fire, prison, coast guard, everybody who under the Ministry of National Security that protecting this country and the borders. I am of the opinion that these people need fire because they're using it all the time. And I am saying that it is justifiable to give them fire. And I agree with that 100%.
And I agree with you, Mr. Abraham, because you have contractors who have 6, 7 firearms. And,
yeah.
and it's like a ranking thing, you know. I could call whoever, and I could get a gun in the morning, I could get a license and so forth. But you have people, as you said, men and women, who leave their families every day to go out there and secure the lives of the citizens, and they have to be still asking and begging and pleading. Simple thing as housing. My God, you can't provide housing. Nobody said to give it to them free, but provide an area for these officers.
Mikey, what I am saying. And that is what causing crime to spiral in certain areas. 500 was a peaceful place when it now started to develop. And one of the things that was spoken about is that they're going to give the police, the prison officers, the army men, and so on, members of the protective service, 10% of the houses. Today, that fall on deaf ears. And then you have all the different housing development where you find strangers coming in to live now, men from all different gangs coming in to live in this community, and you don't have no set of police living inside there. And these could have been the ears and eyes for the general police service bringing out information from in these areas where you find people coming with clandestine activities. All of this could have bring down crime in this country, but people are going to talk, and no action.
I agree with you.
I am saying this tonight here, that God help the United National Congress and they win this election. I don't want no post to say I want no big time post to do nothing. All I want to do is to be with them to make sure that they fulfill the promises of giving the people in the Ministry of National Security, the officers, the firearm. And I will clamor for that right through. Right through, I'm going to make noise about that.
And I stand with you on that, because you're right, because the criminals cannot simply be an advantage. And as you mentioned before, they don't have to clock in, they don't have to send any correspondence to get their gun, and the guns they have simply outmatching the ones that many of the officers have out there. These people, again, are putting their lives on the line, and we need to really and truly do better. We have to do better. And one would think that in this current climate, that would be a priority. Go right ahead, go ahead.
Sorry to cut in.
No, go ahead.
But it have people in this country who are licensed firearm. And if a bandit come to rob them, they frighten to pull out their firearm, right? No. The point I want to make is that these officers putting their life on the line for civilians who they don't even know in this country. They're not sure to go back home alive. Every time they leave home, they have to kiss their wife and children and say, listen, Daddy will come back, and so on, giving the family hope to come back home. No, people have talked about all kind of things. You know, if people really hear gunshots, if they're involved, if somebody walking on Port of Spain and they hear such a gunshot, they don't know where it's coming from. They're diving under the pavement and all in the mighty.
Yeah.
Farmer for police officers who confronting this criminal who actually shooting at these officers. It's a men will mess down their pants. Big men chained with firearm who go on the range every weekend and slamming themselves with firearm. If they really hear, if a gun really point at them and they hear that explosion, if they hear it, thank God, if they hear it, well, they're dead. But if they hear that explosion, they might mess down their pants. And I am saying it's time the police and the army and members of the other protective services have to stop begging and going and line up by the firearm section to ask them, what is the position in the file? Look, I applied 10 years now. And that's demotivating too, because when you look at people who come into licensing firearm during the time for licensing, and you see the kind of people who have firearm, you say, boy, that man get a firearm, that lady get a firearm, and I can't get one, boy, and I deal with firearm every day, boy. You understand?
Yeah.
I am saying if you want to give them the firearm, tell them, listen, we're going to do a 6-month course, and bam, all they get a firearm. Because these officers using firearm every day, and some of these firearm may not even be working properly because going from hand to hand, whether they're cleaning it is a different situation, whether the ammunition still lively is a different situation. Remember, people sweat going to that ammunition 24 hours every day. Different people using these firearms.
Yeah. You're right about it. Mr. Abraham, I want to thank you so much for making that link with us here this evening. Thank you again. And to those officers out there that put their lives on the line, we want to thank you, and they need to be protected. Keep up the good work. Stand their ground. Keep up the good work, and we'll be talking to you again in the near future. Thank you.
Okay, thanks again, Mikey.